So that was part one. That was part one that I just put on YouTube and Facebook. And now we're going to do part two. Let's see what, because I don't know how this goes. Like, I've never heard of this story before. Let's go, y'all.
Comment about the claims of bullying and favoritism. But in her 19-page complaint, filed with the Clark County Office of Diversity, she provided details of Tellis's relationship with Lee Kennett, the videotaping, and his alleged micromanagement of the full-time workers. The county has failed to protect employees from a mentally and emotionally abusive situation that has continued now for 2 years plus, and the mental and physical health ramifications have been felt by most of the full-time employees in this department of only 8 full-time employees, Goodwin wrote. Goodwin, who's been in the office for about 5 years, also alleges in the complaint that Tellis is discriminating against her because she is Mormon and has retaliated against her since she filed a discrimination complaint with the county in 2020. Tellis denies these allegations. According to her new complaint, staffers first saw Tellis and Lee Kennett getting close to each other in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. He moved into a cubicle next to hers. Then they began taking walks and having lunch together. Lee Kennett also observed having numerous closed-door meetings with Tellis, where they were heard giggling. No other employees were allowed inside his office, which only has windows to view the outside of the building, the complaint says.
Right.
Lee Kennett has since acted with assumed authority, power, and privileges since the two began their personal relationship, Goodwin wrote in her complaint. Their behavior has very negatively affected most of the others in our department. A county spokesman declined to comment on the complaint, saying it was a personal matter. Deputy County Manager Jeff Wells, who oversees the Public Administrator's Office, was not made available for an interview. Because Tellis is an elected official, the county has no authority to discipline him, but it does monitor how employees are treated. Health of employees questioned. Former boss Cahill said he is worried about the impact the alleged bullying is having on employee health and their dealings with the public. These employees talk daily with the people who have lost a loved one and their families, he said. It's an emotional, stressful job, and to add a hostile working atmosphere to it is unacceptable. Cahill was also critical of the county's failure to stop the alleged abuse. They're being harassed and the county doesn't seem to care, he said, and I just think that that's nonsense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way that, like, once I got bit by a dog and I started getting treated so hostilely at work, and I was supposed to be a respected team leader who had, you know, one of the best records of canvassing and was able to train people. I get that. I get that. Like, once you start in a situation where they're like, well, we're going to push you out by being so fucking hostile to you. I get this. I'm also in a lot of pain right now, so there's that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of people out there that realize that they fucked up as managers, and so they try and like make up fucking excuses for why they behaved the way that they behaved. If the dude wanted to fuck around on his wife, he didn't need to do it that way. This is literally what I told the dude that was stalking me for several years. I'm like when we were actually working together, I said, hey dude, look, if you want to fuck around, just do it outside of this organization so that we don't have any risk. Go to bars or something. He refused to listen to me.
These employees are still county employees who have the rights of county employees. They're not his private employees. Some holdover staffers interviewed by the Review-Journal cried while sharing details of their troubled work environment. Some asked to remain anonymous out of fear of retaliation. According to the workers, Tellis has a temper and demeans holdover employees. He assigns them unnecessary work, has set unrealistic performance goals, won't respond to questions they have about their changing duties, and tries to dig up dirt on them. He also prohibits them from using cell phones at work and discourages them from
stretch goals, right? Stretch goals. Right. Let's go.
Socializing and gossiping in the office. Anyone who questions his authority is chastised, the workers said. The employees contend they are constantly worried that they won't properly follow his sometimes confusing directives and could be reprimanded or verbally abused. One worker said she eats a bag lunch every day in her car because she doesn't want to be seen socializing with staffers who aren't among Tellis's favorites.
the day that I got bit by an attack dog, I got a pretty harassing phone call from my boss asking why every time he talked to me, I was in my car. Every time he called me, it was either break or lunchtime, and I always packed my lunch. I was constantly packing my lunch. I had food all over my car because I was feeding everybody. This is the shit we deal with when it comes to people who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Nell Lee, a part-time investigator, said the office environment is one of the worst she has ever seen. She has her own live event company and has spent years putting on entertainment events on the strip. He literally works to create division in the office, she said. He's so vindictive and so horrible. Everybody looks like they're in a CYA situation all the time. People are depressed, they're physically ill. One staffer told me, I'd rather have a colonoscopy every day than come here and deal with him. Janie Osuzik, who worked as an executive assistant for 4 public administrators for over 30 years, said she retired in April because she got frustrated with the hostile environment. You always had to be on guard, and it made the office uncomfortable because you knew there were certain people who would run to tell us on everything, even with lies, and he would accept it as true, she said. He would storm into my office and accuse me of things and never take the time to investigate anything. She said she once got so stressed that she had to take a leave to deal with the migraines. Those of us who were not in his favor felt that we weren't appreciated, even after all those years of working in the office. She said, it was a miserable place to work. Reed said she has dealt with headaches, stomach aches, and depression under what she called constant browbeating by Telus. When you beat people up, there's only so much energy and services they can provide, she said. You spend so much time combating these challenges and accusations and reprimands, it knocks you in the gut. It's like, here we go again, another lie, and you have to try to protect yourself. Reed is also convinced that the relationship between Telus and Lee Kennett is responsible for the office conflict and has contributed to Tellus's efforts to strip her of much of her administrative duties. His relationship with her is harmful to the operations in the office, Reed said. She has become more and more powerful and noticeable. If she didn't like something, boom, she'd be marching into his office and there would be some change. Telus disputes the claims of hostility from Reed and the other veteran employees. These allegations that I've chained people to the wall or something are bogus, he said. They make it sound as though everybody is miserable in the office. I've done my best to try to be as nice and friendly this whole time. For whatever reason, they just seem to want things to go back to the way they were, serving the interests of a few. Before I got there, this office was in a horrible, horrible state. Among the changes Telus said he has made are closing estate cases faster and cutting back on large amounts of tax-funded overtime employees were getting under Cahill. He provided a document that showed one veteran employee received more than $140,000 in overtime between 2017 and 2018. That was on top of the employee's combined $150,000 regular salary for those years. The employee's overtime dropped to roughly $13,500 in 2020 under Telus, according to the document. Lee Kennett, who sits in a cubicle similar to other state coordinators and employees, said the disgruntled staffers are responsible for creating the drama. Rob is walking.
Let's just also note that he was still making people come into the office during the pandemic. And I think we're talking 2020, 2021, right? So this is before we had a vaccine too, right? So he's making people show up in person during the pandemic, when probably a lot of this could have been done from home, remotely, and then they wouldn't have had these types of complaints against him.
On eggshells because of all of them. We all are, she said. There's no accountability on their part. Nicole Lofton, an estate coordinator for the past year, said the old guard acts like a little gang and has tried to isolate her. Lofton said she has suffered from migraines from stress. They told me from the beginning to pick a side, she said, adding that Telus does everything he can to help her succeed while the other group wants her to fail. Ariana Payne, another Telus loyalist who works as a full-time office assistant, said that she has seen the increased production of the office. The office is running a lot smoother, she said. We're closing a lot of cases. But she said there's also been a definite divide. There's talk of them versus us, and it shouldn't be that way. We have a duty to do. Alicia Goodwin provides details in her retaliation complaint of what employees claimed they saw when they observed Tellis and Lee Kennett at the Premium Outlets parking structure between February and March. We were then able to take photos and video from afar, Goodwin writes. We also were able to secure several instances where they met up in a parking garage, driving separately in their individual vehicles and staying from 1.5 to 2.5 hours on each visit. In one video, the footage shows Tellis and Lee Kennett in the back seat of her Nissan Rogue. The video appears to show two heads through the tinted black window joining together before the couple leaves the back seat. Tellis leaves first, walking away without looking back. Lee Kennett exits the car seconds later and gets in the front seat. Neither person acknowledges the other outside of the car. We're being put through all of this because he's having a private thing, one employee said. I don't think he should be allowed to run a county department. He's mismanaged so many things. This is a horrible abuse of public trust. To say the article caused an uproar in the public administrator's office would be inaccurate, as every paranoid delusion that Robert had ever had just been confirmed. Despite the video showing him and his subordinate in a compromising position, the testimony of his staff, and the proof of his unprofessional behavior, Robert felt as if he was being unjustly penalized. He was being attacked and criticized, not because he did anything wrong, but because he was surrounded by opportunistic snakes who all wanted what he had. He seemed entirely unable to process that he had done anything wrong in this situation, and responded to the claims with anger. The article had served its purpose, though, as it brought Robert's unprofessional behavior to the public's attention, sparking an investigation done by Tellis's superiors. In order to verify that the claims made in the article were true, they placed Mike Murphy in the office. That way he could observe what the working conditions were like. If they were as toxic as Rita and the other employees had said, he would no doubt bear witness to it. But if they were lying and trying to make Robert look bad, he would be able to see that as well. Once again, Jeff wrote about the investigation and the fallout from his initial article for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. But in doing so, he became Tellis's enemy. Tellis began to characterize Gehrman as being an angry, vindictive man who was obsessed with him.
Well, I think the important takeaway from this is that even if the allegations of his staff were untrue, which is probably unlikely, right? That's still, like, how does that justify murder exactly? That he covered the story, that he got all of this information from your employees and stuff? I think my neighbors are playing a board game or something, because they're yelling and shit. Alright, let's go.
For some reason, he was unable to grasp that Gehrman had simply been doing his job, which is following a story, and instead tried to claim that the reporter was a malicious stalker who wanted to be him. On June 17th, 2022, Robert would post the following angry letter on his campaign website, titled, Addressing the False Claims Against Me. While many of you have contacted me with support, I know that some may believe the allegations made in the article by the local right-wing paper. You may believe that I have betrayed your trust. You may believe that I am not the man that I have always portrayed myself to be. Some of you may not know all the good work that I have done for Las Vegas. I hope by the end of this page you will see what I know to be true. The article was false. The article was intentionally gut-wrenching. It was so ugly that you almost had to believe it was true. I can understand why you might have, with the writer's skill at pushing buttons. Also, the timing of the article was very convenient for my opponent, Rita Reed. My hope now is to present the facts to you so that you may reconsider your opinion if you believed the article to be true. Number 1, the people in the article would have you believe that I could mistreat them for years without action from Clark County. Clark County has no tolerance for abusive behavior. Furthermore, the commissioners are very serious about protecting employees' rights. They certainly would not have stood for it if I was mistreating the employees.
Yeah, apparently the Democratic Party of California doesn't have a tolerance. Yeah, they like all of these fucking organizations say they have no tolerance policies, and I've been stalked and harassed at several fucking CDP and DPOC events, and my stalker is still allowed to attend. I got another one coming up this weekend, and I'll tell you straight up, you come up to me, I'm crippled now. I can't fucking walk away from you. You try and come up to me again, I will call the police. And I will show them the stipulation agreement. So stay the fuck away from me this weekend.
Number 2, they failed to mention SEIU in the article. The majority of these employees are SEIU members.
Oh
If I
my
was mistreating
God.
the employees in any way, SEIU.
Oh my God, you guys. Did you? Oh my God, even. Oh my God. Look, I'm going to have conversations about this. SEIU, are you for fucking real? Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you for real? These are SEIU. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Let's go.
Would have held me and Clark County accountable. Number 3, they would have you believe the only remedy possible for my removal is to have the voters vote me out and vote for my opponent from the office. However, that is not true. There are currently investigations going on as to the actions of all the actors in this matter. I know that Clark County will find that I have done nothing wrong. Nonetheless, if they were to find that I was acting the way that was claimed, I would be referred to the state for removal. You might then ask, what has motivated people to lie about me if I have done nothing wrong? Obviously, the lengths to which Rita Reid and these individuals have gone is incredible. They are seeking to destroy me both personally and professionally. I can tell you what I know. Number 1, I made significant changes in structure and operating procedures, increasing efficiency over their objections that it is not the way things were done. Number 2, after increasing efficiency, I cut overtime for the employees. One employee made around double her salary for several years before I cut the overtime off. They were not happy. Number 3, I have held employees accountable using Clark County approved forms of discipline when actions were either intentional or grossly negligent, such that they costed the taxpayers money. Number 4, I set expectations that employees not spend the majority of the workday chatting. While I stated on several occasions they could no longer do that, I still yet emphasized that it was fine to take 10 minutes here and there to chat, on top of the breaks and lunches that are available to them. Number 5, beyond what I did above, 2 of the employees were promised promotions if my opponent from the office won. Another employee, a part-time employee, was promised a full-time position. After my opponent from the office, Rita Reid, announced her candidacy, her supporters in the office began to ramp up interference with our operations. After the article, this included harassing other employees in the office. Tragically, these other employees have suffered mental and physical effects, and at this point, nothing can be done while the investigations are going on. It is upsetting to see the real harassment going on that will never be in the paper. Unfortunately, my hands have been tied for now. I believe my opponent and her followers were goading me into disciplining them for the harassment so they can run back to the newspaper for another article. When my assistant county manager offered to have Mike Murphy come in as my assistant, I immediately accepted the help. Having a third-party observer in the office would keep these people from continuing their hostility in the office.
Right.
In my written statement, link at the end of the page, I noted that Mike Murphy was coming in as my assistant public administrator. However, the article did not say that. The reporter wanted to make it sound as though Mike Murphy was a babysitter for me, not my opponent and her supporters. As I mentioned earlier, there is a remedy for removing me, even if I win re-election, and I am found to have done wrong. On the other hand, I believe Rita Reid and her supporters in the office see this as their last chance to get what they want. Also, I am sure Rita Reid is counting on a win so she can shield her supporters from being disciplined for their actions against the other employees for the past couple of months. If I win, I will be certain that Clark County is directly involved in any discipline that results from the findings of county's investigations. I will be sure SEIU is involved as well, as they can be sure that the rights of all the employees are protected during the process. I have worked for years to help people, both professionally and in the community. A look at my website, my social media, and LinkedIn show just some of the good work that I have done. I believe there are people who will find it hard.
SEIU, come on, you guys. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. SEIU is involved in this? Holy shit, y'all. You know, I lost some of my canvassers to the SEIU canvas pack operation in LA because they were paying $2 more an hour. One of my canvassers, a transgender woman, was starting to recruit all of my canvassers to go to Fieldworks, which is the SEIU operation. I'm so shocked that they're involved in this. This was one of your candidates, y'all? This was one of your candidates?
To reconcile these claims in the article with what I have done in my life. That is because the article is false. I am still campaigning hard to win this race. I have maintained all my union endorsements, and I continue to receive endorsements after the article. I have been working with other candidates to spread the word. I am working hard to win re-election, and I believe I will win. Sincerely, Rob Tellis. P.S. I had hoped the truth would come out publicly. At one point, I sought legal counsel to see if legal action was an option. Unfortunately, it appears that this would have only done more harm than good. Suing a newspaper like the Las Vegas Review-Journal is near impossible. Suing my own employees is not a good option either. Also, given the newspaper's leaning, it is unlikely that they would publish a letter to the editor from me. I emailed information to another news outlet, but it seems they were not interested in the story. Frankly,
Yeah, that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. They're gonna be just like CNN and publish all your bullshit. That's some fucking bullshit. You kidding me? They got a newsworthy story. They're absolutely gonna jump on it. I don't believe that for a fucking second.
it seems that no other news outlet was interested in picking up this story from any viewpoint, which further speaks to its credibility. After the blog was made, the county's investigation into Tellis came to an end, and they found the article had been accurate in its portrayal of Robert's behavior. He would actively penalize some of the staff for misbehavior, flying into a rage when they were caught talking. He would refuse to allow them to help some residents, purposely blocking them from doing their jobs, but he would treat other staffers completely differently. It was clear that there was a divide in the office, and that Robert had been the cause of it. The report and its findings only seemed to anger Robert. He thought his managerial style would have been validated, that the county would have supported his ill treatment of some of his works on the grounds that he had saved them money. But the fact that they had turned the situation around on him to make him look like the bad guy was too much for him. Prior to the election being called, Robert added to his blog post, writing, "At this point, I do believe I will lose this race, and I am looking forward to going back to the practice of probate law where I can continue to help families. Why then provide this update? Well, I have always believed in justice and doing the right thing. I know it may sound naive."
That's a very unusual thing for a candidate to do, is like declare that they're going to lose before the election even happens. That's really fucking weird. Obviously, he knew he was in trouble, right?
But that is how I feel. I believe it is important to lay out the truth, only to share with you what really occurred here. It makes no other difference at this point. If you are reading what I am writing here to find something about which you can be upset, I am sure you will find it here. If you are interested in learning more about all of this, you will find that too. Frankly, when I entered the office, I had hoped to rally the team. I wanted to fix what was wrong with the office and show the team that there was a better way. Unfortunately, some of the team preferred to stoke fears amongst themselves that I wanted to fire them. In hindsight, it was to justify to themselves what they were going to do to me. For my part, I sent encouraging emails and often thanked all the team members for their efforts in person. I did my best to recognize them for their good work. Unfortunately, that was just not good enough for some people. Now, you might think that I am no longer going to be in the office at the end of this term, that the people in the article would be satisfied no matter who won the race for public administrator. However, Rita must win if she is going to make good on promotions for her supporters. If Rita does not win, then her position will not be vacated. Then the employee who wanted her position will not get it. This person wanted to work in that position for 3 years to obtain a much higher monthly payment in retirement. For that reason, Jeff Gehrman and John...
Wait, who's this person? Who's this person? What the hell is he even talking about? Oh my god. Alright, keep going.
Cahill may not be done trying to drag me through the mud. To ensure that Democrats rally around Rita, they would have to turn most Democratic voters against me, even now when I should be irrelevant. Don't be surprised if the articles keep coming. Through all of these articles, I have found the support of my family and friends. Despite what Jeff Gehrman and John Cahill have tried to do to me personally, I have been backed up by love and support that helped me to keep fighting for re-election. While I have lost, I still yet have that love and support. I am grateful for those who know me and believe in me, for the voters and organizations who maintained their support, and the people who tried to help me win the race. Continued public office was clearly not on the cards for me. There are so many other ways that people are involved in the community without holding public office. I look forward to continuing my work for the community in these other capacities. However, despite his angry letter and fierce campaigning, Robert would end up losing his re-election bid, coming in third out of the 3 individuals running, one of which did absolutely no campaigning. As he was already covering the election, Jeff wrote about the results, as well as Tellis's blog post, which only seemed to anger the former elected official more. He went on Twitter to vent his frustration, accusing Jeff of being two-faced. He wrote, "Does the @LVRJ know that @JGarman may be doing double duty on their dime? Did they know he basically made a veiled threat to make me take down my site with the truth after I had already lost the election? #Las Vegas. However, the screenshot he posted showed no such threat or malice. Instead, it just showed the journalist asking him for a comment for his article. After he had lost the election, Robert seemed to feel as if he had nothing else to lose, and began to directly antagonize the reporter on Twitter. When it became clear that Jeff was going to be writing a 4th article on Tellis, going over the entire scandal, his loss, and his continued downward spiral, Tellis tweeted, "Wife hears rustling in her trash. Her. Honey, is there a wild animal in the trash? Me. No, dear, it looks like it's Jeff Garman going through our trash for his 4th story on me. Oh, Jeff. Crying emoji, #Las Vegas. Looking forward to Lying Smear Piece number 4 by Jeff Garman. #One Trick Pony. I think he's mad that I haven't crawled into a hole and died. Crying laughing emoji. #Las Vegas. Oh shoot, I left my pizza box and sushi containers in the trash. In the next article, I'm going to have mob and Yakuza ties. Crying laughing emoji. Ha 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 ha. Sick burn, Robert. Typical bully. Can't take a pound of criticism after slinging 100 pounds of BS. Up to article number 4 now. You'd think he'd have better things to do. Winky licky emoji, or whatever that is." He updated his blog, this time with accusations against Rita, the woman who had successfully been elected to his position. But it seemed, at least from an outside point of view, that the situation had died down. Garman would go on to write other stories, report the news, as he always had. However, he didn't realize that the man he had reported on had committed to ending his life.
Oh, man.
Robert Tellis's response to losing re-election had been interesting to watch. He had actively attacked the character of his staff, texted multiple staff members vague threats, and had utilized his blog, Twitter, and Facebook to attack the character of people who had, at one time, supported him, even men he had networked with the hope that they would be assets for his eventual campaign to become governor, were attacked, as well as called duplicitous and mocked mercilessly. Garman had worked as a reporter for 4 decades and knew from past experience that the story with Tellis was far from over. This was a man who had worked tirelessly to get where he was, and he wanted to uncover all of the friends he had lost and the people he had left dead and bloodied along the way, so to speak. With that in mind, Garman made additional public record requests relating to any information on Tellis. These requests included emails between Tellis and his employees, records of misconduct in the office, and would prove that Tellis was not only abusive to his workers, but carried out inappropriate sexual relationships while working. Robert was already in a heightened state since losing the election. He was embarrassed, but more importantly, he was angry. His life, his plan, everything he had worked towards was now destroyed, and he believed that it was the fault of 2 people, Rita Reed, who still worked under him and ran against him, and Jeff Garman. On August 28th, he sent Reed a string of text messages, not unlike those he had sent before. The messages read, "You've made a deal with the devil. You've ruined my life's path and damaged the office. You will have to live with everything that has been done here." He had sent messages like this to her before, damning her to hell and telling her she was going to die alone, so she ignored them for the most part. She wasn't aware of Tellis's violent past, and she believed that she was safe, but she had no idea what he was capable of. Days later, at 7:30 a.m. on September 2nd, 2022, Tellis received an email from the Clark County Attorney's Office informing him that the county was planning on releasing the emails between him and his former mistress to Garman, citing his information request. Less than 4 hours later, Jeff Garman would be murdered in cold blood. At 9:12 a.m., Tellis left his home, driving his wife's maroon GMC Yukon.
Wait, it sounds like there was a FOIA request, because I don't think they would have informed him that those emails were going to be released unless somebody had put forward a Freedom of Information Act request. I've done this several times as a proposal manager, and also just recently last fall I did so, or I don't know if it was last fall, it was pretty recently. I put forward a FOIA request on Irvine because of the Melahat situation. Um, for those of you who don't know, you can look it up, Melahat Rafi. I put a request in not long ago, and I did finally. They kept putting it off. They're like, okay, we have 10 days to respond. We need 30 days. No, we need 60 days. Like, they kept putting it off, right? I did ultimately get it. But at the same time, like, I'm too injured right now to process it myself, right? So I passed it along to other politicos that I know in my neighborhood who could do something with it. And I don't know if they have, but because I'm just like, I have too much pain in my leg to pay attention to everything. But if it's anywhere, it's on Voice of OC, I think. That was one of the sources that I sent it out to.
Denali, as confirmed on neighbors' Ring doorbell cameras. At 10:54, a car matching that description was seen parking near Jeff's home. A man was captured walking to and from the car. He was wearing a wide-brimmed straw hat, a neon long-sleeve safety shirt, and a large blue duffel bag. The outfit was strange and drew a fair amount of attention to the man, especially on surveillance footage. The man in the strange outfit then walked into Gehrman's side yard at 11:18 a.m. What he did there was anyone's guess, but after 5 minutes of waiting, the reporter would eventually walk outside himself. At that point, he was immediately attacked by the knife-wielding stranger. The attack was quick, and the strange man left immediately, jumping back into the maroon car that matched Tellis's wife's vehicle. Gehrman would be found the following day by a neighbor, dead of multiple stab wounds. Jeff Gehrman was well loved in the city of Las Vegas. He had worked with law enforcement before, uncovering corruption and making sure that the city of sin wasn't quite as sinful. His murder was immediately labeled major designation status, and the investigation into what happened became high priority, and within days, they had already had their first and only suspect.
Oh, God.
The investigation into Jeff Gehrman's murder was somewhat simple. When his peers were asked if Jeff had any enemies, they were all quick to inform police of his escalating issues with Tellis, and how the former elected official had accused him of threatening him, and how he had been the target of his ire since losing the election. The police quickly found the surveillance footage of the man who killed Gehrman in the vehicle he was driving, and noted that Tellis fit the general description and had access to the same vehicle. At this point, they were all well aware that Tellis was likely the murderer, but also realized that they would need to have a well-thought-through plan to move forward. Tellis had worked in the legal system, and interrogating him the same way that they would interrogate someone without legal knowledge would go nowhere. Instead, they opted to put some of the information they had gained out to the public, with the hopes that the knowledge that he and his wife's car had been seen on camera multiple times would scare him. They wanted him afraid and nervous. That way, if they were to bring him in, he would be more likely to make a mistake. On September 6th, just 4 days after Gehrman's murder, police held a press conference where they showed a maroon GMC Yukon Denali and released a video clip of the suspect walking. They urged the public for tips, asking viewers to take notice of how strangely the person was walking. At once, like the police had predicted, people immediately began to publicly accuse Tellis. The fact that he fit the general description and his wife had the same car was too coincidental, and all of his threatening texts, tweets, and messages pointed directly his way. Later on that same day, the Review Journal sent reporters to Tellis's home, where they confronted him about matching the description, but Tellis stayed silent. The very next day, any reservation that Tellis hadn't been the man in the neon shirt would go out the window, as Gehrman had struck Tellis during the murder and had managed to get a fair bit of his DNA stuck under his fingernails. Coworkers and friends would go on to state that his years of crime reporting had taught him to fight back, and in the end, it was his actions that caught the killer. That same day, police arrived at Tellis's home at 6:30 a.m. with a search warrant. They towed both of his vehicles and brought him into the station for an interview. As of today, that interview has not been made public. Following that interview, Tellis was arrested and charged with Jeff Gehrman's murder. As of today, Robert Tellis remains in custody pending trial, which is set to begin April 2023. The investigation into him has also uncovered the fact that he had misappropriated his client's funds in the past and that he might have participated in a kickback scheme tied to house flipping. However, details about that have yet to be confirmed. Hopefully, in April, we see justice done in this case. Jeff Gehrman was a powerful writer and an honest man. He spent his life working to fix corrupt systems and bring light into dark situations. He got involved with Telus after being made aware of the strife he had brought into his workplace and sought to defend the men and women who worked under him. He deserves justice. If you have made it to this part of the video, thank you for watching. Again, this is part 1. And a second part will be out following the trial. If you like this video and want to see the next portion, like and subscribe. If there's a video you would like to see made.
Wow, you guys. Oh my God, even. But it's even more disappointing to me that one of the other big unions supported this guy. You know, we trust you. We trust you.